early and ad-free, and you really support your boys, support your independent podcasters over here. We'd appreciate it. Peace.
Welcome to another amazing special edition of everyone's favorite episode, ATT Confidential. I'm your host, Braden, with my co-host, Dan, and tonight we have two special guests.
Couple of duds.
From Alien Theories Theorizing, we have Zell.
Hey.
And from another ATT, we have Andrew. Welcome to Confidential.
So when
Feels good to be here
for this?
Feels good to be here. Finally good to be on the show.
Checks in the mail or what?
No.
Yeah, checks in the mail.
Guys, take it all.
You need a new agent because you were cheap. You were very affordable. People might not think so. Very. I mean, you could cash in a couple cans and some bottles laying around your house,
Hey,
and
every little bit helps.
45 minutes from Andrew.
Absolutely.
It's been a while. since I
Tonight we're
heard that
talking about
Confidential.
a little different tonight because tonight is so much. It's more. We're kind of delving into some elaborate hoaxes that maybe fool some people. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they're real.
I feel like
Maybe
that's the
they're not
majority of the
hoaxes at
shit
all.
we talk about.
Absolutely not.
Oh, fuck that. They're not all hoaxes. There are some good hoaxes, though. There's some really good hoaxes.
There's a few.
Dan, what are we focusing on tonight?
Yeah, if you're going to talk about the UFO and alien phenomenon, I feel like you can't leave out hoaxes. Like, they do exist and they always have, like, ever since we've started the entire, I'd probably say prior to Roswell, like a little prior to Roswell, that thing where flying saucers and extraterrestrials entered into the public consciousness. It's really difficult to separate the two. I mean, we've already talked about some pretty good, what were the hoaxes. We talked about Alien Autopsy, that whole show that popped up.
That's real.
That was real. Yep.
What are you talking about? That was real.
I mean, those are real organs inside that body. Sure. Yeah.
It was a real good hoax.
Yeah.
We talked about the McPherson.
Rick Dyer.
We talked about Rick Dyer. Rick Dyer's Bigfoot, world's greatest
and his possum ape.
Right. And we talked about the McPherson tapes, which is always a favorite of mine. The alien invasion of the house. Like man, that was a good one. I really like that one.
Which one was the McPherson tapes? Is that the one where he's like
the family was trapped in the house and the aliens were like coming into the house, like, and then we had it. But it was like based on another concept of things.
That's right.
The shittier version of it, but it was also creepier. Like,
I was thinking of
the beginning of the found footage era. It was essentially like the beginning of what.
The best part about Confidentials is they're not live for everyone. So it's like, what was that one with the fucking pedophile that was like, yeah, the kids were running around naked.
Oh,
so I
that
decided
was
to get
Stan Romachuk.
The greatest cover for his.
That wasn't even a good hoax. Like, it wasn't
terrible
even
hoax.
No.
And now he's in jail.
Now he is in jail.
Yeah. For you guessed it.
So, but this one we're talking about the supernatural sighting of the Elkton Blue Man.
So like guys in a onesie.
Not the Blue Man Group.
Painted all blue, latex.
So it's not blue dabba dee dabba die.
There are no unique and fantastical percussion instruments involved in this one. So
yeah.
So if you're looking forward to that, you can tune out now.
Little side note. If you've ever go to Vegas or you want to go to see a good show, I took about 3 or 4 edibles.
Blue
Went
Man.
and saw the Blue Man Group, and when they were throwing marshmallows into each other's mouth, I literally thought they were telling me there was some secret meaning. I was like, they're talking to me, man. This is crazy. It was a wild show.
Good show. I've seen it as well. It's fucking awesome.
I don't know how it would be sober, but on drugs, oh my God. Phenomenal.
So this
I couldn't imagine on some methamphetamine or some crack.
PCP?
On your street drugs of choice, I couldn't imagine how good that show would be.
This story comes from the small town of Bad Axe, Michigan, which is a fucking great name for a town.
Bad Axe, Michigan?
Bad Axe. Which is even better than Bad Ass. Like, I think Bad Axe, Michigan is even better.
Well, mate, it sounds dope, but then when you like break that down, you're like, no, it's a bad name because it's a shitty axe. They're literally saying the axe is no good.
Unless it was named, what if it was like named in the 70s though, when you're like, that's bad. Like, it's good though.
Yeah.
Bad is good.
Bad is good. Yeah. So yeah, for those of you who are
stories from the 50s. So,
so those of you who are familiar with Michigan, like the town is located like right on the the tip of the thumb of the state of Michigan, like it's right over there.
Worst part.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I think when I think of Michigan.
I mean, most of Michigan is really nice,
Great.
like
Especially Detroit.
Tip of the thumb.
Yeah, keep saying that. Curse is dead.
This specific event occurred in April of 1958, and so around that time you had a number of science fiction films and stuff that were kind of floating around and probably were infusing and charging the public consciousness full of ideas of flying saucers and men from Mars and whatnot. You had the Saucer Men, classic sci-fi film from 1957, the year before. And there's also this movie that came out that I looked it up. It's called Satan's Satellites from 1958, where alien invaders plan to use a hydrogen bomb to blast Earth out of its orbit so Mars can replace it.
That's awesome. Man,
it's a great plot.
If you search the
Did Aaron Eckhart or whatever star in it? It sounds like a movie he'd be in.
That would be amazing.
If you search the artwork for that movie, the 50s, that was the coolest fucking artwork, like that comic style from the 50s.
Oh yeah. Yeah, all of those movie posters with that type of like that.
It's like
it's like style that you look at it. You're like, it's fucking awesome. Like Saucer Men, Forbidden Planet, like all of those ones are all great.
We're in the age of some of the worst movie posters of all time. I'm so sick of the floating heads. Like that's all our movie posters now are floating heads. It's terrible. Like even I hate to say it, but like I got a Fifth Element poster back there.
Floating heads.
You know what it is? Floating heads, baby. I mean, it's been a long time of floating heads. Like we need some back to the
graphics.
Hollywood.
So April would have been about, around springtime, right? And you had reports kind of filing in from some teens, actually more than a few teens who had been usually driving around these back roads of Bad Axe, Michigan. And they began reporting some unusual occurrences. And these occurrences involved the sighting of what was described as a large-headed, glowing blue creature that was chasing these teenage motorists down the highway.
That was terrifying.
Honestly, that is fucking hilarious, though.
And so,
let's think about that for a second. Like, think about the Lover's Lane, and I'm thinking about there's that lookout up in Glen Rosa and shit, right? Where like people go and park their cars and look out.
Oh, every town's got one, yeah.
Right, every town's got a Lover Lane. Now imagine a bunch of degenerate adults like us planning an elaborate fucking alien hoax. We're like, this is where we're gonna go do it.
Yeah, you gotta scare away the fornicators.
Yeah. See, this is a dangerous thing to do in the States because there's a high risk of being shot.
Well, now there is.
Now, yeah. Maybe in the 50s, not so much. In Canada, you're pretty safe, I would say.
Yeah.
For sure, in the 50s, you still had to have duels.
Can you still have a duel in some states? Isn't that still legal?
Well, dude,
I don't think so.
Yes, there's what's it called where it's like mutual combat or whatever.
Oh,
where it's like,
I think it's in Washington. You can have mutual combat law or something. The cops can't do anything.
I don't think it's ever been challenged in court, but I don't think anybody will actually I don't know how long it's been since somebody actually invoked.
There's got to be of all the states, like all the states have such different laws. There's got to be at least one that still has legal duels.
Well, I think Illinois. I don't know where I heard it, and I'm worried that I heard it on a Rogan episode, so I don't know the validity of it. But where there was a shootout in Chicago, and like it was basically called mutual combat.
Yeah, I mean that's what happens. You take the glove off, you smack the other guy in the face with your empty glove, and then he smacks you in the face, and you shoot each other.
I challenge you to a duel.
So with these reports coming in through like a series of weeks, police didn't really take any of the reports seriously until after this creature seemingly terrorized a bus full of Elkton Junior High School students. A bus full of middle schoolers.
So, and then like, what do you mean What do you mean terrorize? Like, we talking like run up to the fucking
bang on it
windows and be like, have a look at this blue fucking dick. Look at this blue dick.
Like, I mean, they said terrorized, not molested. So I mean,
well, they didn't use molested in the 50s. They used terrorized.
So three of the participants.
This was character building. They call it character building in the 50s.
So you had three residents of Bad Axe, Michigan. You had Don Weiss, Leroy Schultz, and Jerry Sprague, who were in their 20s at the time, and they had just returned from serving in the military overseas. Now, according to them, talking to them about this experience and about this series of events, they said that at the time they were, they had a bit of spare time on their hands because they had just gotten back and they were looking for work. And they all kind of had a reputation around the town for mischief already. Like they were already kind of a bit known to be pranksters.
They've been prank calling everyone at this point.
Dennis the Menace is.
So the trio decided that, with the time, what better to do than to cause a little bit of mayhem in their quiet little town?
Why not?
Now, so in a garage, they put together a costume. It's a pretty elaborate costume for the time because it included a number of pieces. It said they had long underwear. They had Weiss's school football helmet. They had a styrofoam that was then attached to the helmet. They had these large gloves, which they put on their hands. Also included some German combat boots with metal soles. And then they had a bed sheet with two holes cut out for eyes and put over the football.
One for the eyes. One for the dick.
And then they had a large button sewn on the mouth, like to give it like just a little black circle, like a little
nice ghost vibe
face, that little O face.
Oh yeah. Oh.
And then, but they also, rigged up in an impressive electrical setup because they had to come up with a way. They devised a way to get blinking lights on the things. They didn't have those back then. Back in the 50s, they didn't have the blinking Christmas lights like we have now. Like you can plug them into whatever. They actually had to put in like a battery pack and like all of that to actually attach it to the costume in order to make it appear that this costume was glowing.
Ingenious,
and then
really.
The entire getup was then spray painted blue.
It's pretty like crafty if you think about the time and stuff, like, right? So like,
how long after this did Tobias Funke do it?
Right?
It's been a while.
But like, they're the original Blue Man. They're the Blue Man, right?
Blue themselves.
OG.
So I guess you could say that, and the very first Blue Man would have been Jerry Sprague, because Jerry Sprague is the one who put on the costume, and he was the only one to wear it because he was the only one who fit into the long underwear.
I'm pretty sure Jerry Sprague is Ryan Sprague's grandpa. And the lineage,
I don't know if you're joking or not.
The lineage keeps going.
Like, I don't know if you're joking. That might be true. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It could be. Just throwing it out there.
Like, it could be if we run into it again.
If we ask Ryan, if next time we see Ryan Sprague, we're going to ask him.
Yeah.
If any relevance to this story.
Who's Ryan?
Is your grandpa the
Summer in the
Elton
Skies
Blue Man?
podcast, we did a swap with him one time.
Okay.
We should ask him. We met him at Alien. Oh, you weren't there. You weren't at that Alien Con. We met him though.
Andrew's baby time. Fresh baby time back then.
Yeah.
So for now, they only performed this prank. They perpetrated this prank, I suppose. They only perpetrated this prank on Thursdays. Like, apparently they knew that like this was the time.
That was boys' night.
But yeah, I guess like Thursdays were the time to do this. So for several Thursdays in a row, they did this only on
You need
Thursdays.
continuity, right? You gotta fucking
Yeah. Well, you also want people to be like, we saw it on Thursday night. Like, maybe we'll go out again. Like, it's like Mr. Burns when he's coming out of the fucking the lab, right? He's glowing, right? Like you set a time because like these kids will talk, right? Like, and they'll say, "Oh, we thought
Thursday night.
Thursday
It's always
night."
Thursday night.
And then especially you get people, and then especially 2 weeks in a row, like we saw him Thursday night too. We saw this thing. You would instantly have kids coming out to try to see it and
Setting
So I
themselves
can
up
see
to
that.
be hoaxed once more.
Yeah, and they weren't even like, nobody was really sure. Like, they did it the first Thursday. They got a couple of reactions. They had a couple how they would do it is they put Sprague in the trunk of the car, and then they would drive up, and then he would hop out. They pop the trunk, he would hop out, and then they would drive a little way. Like the car would drive a little ways, further up the road, and then Sprague would run parallel to the road as cars were passing. So he'd turn on his little battery pack, and then as these cars would come up, he would run alongside the road and then run parallel to these cars, freaking the fuck out of everybody who was in that car. Because I don't know exactly. I don't know what I would do. It's like somebody comes running, you see a human figure running up, like a glowing human figure running up to the side of the road while you're driving your car. That's terrifying.
When I lived up north, I'll tell there's a quick anecdote of seeing weird shit in your car, and you just sometimes you're just taken aback. I was driving up north, and all of a sudden I parked on the side of the road to go to the bathroom, and then I got back in my vehicle and I was sitting there ready to go. I was like, whatever, just shooting a text message. It was a spot with some Wi-Fi, and as I looked up, no word of a lie, there was like a Native American in war getup running down the highway. And I just stood and I had to be sit there for a second and be like, what am I looking at here? Is this for real? Am I seeing this? And I was just I remember being frozen and just what am I seeing here? Is this some sort of ghost? What the fuck? My brain went through all these things. And then this guy ran past and rolled down the window. And then he came back and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, oh, we do this ceremonial run. I'm running 50K in my ancestors stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I was like, but freak me out. But imagine running and all of a sudden you just look to your side and you're there's a blue man Forrest Gumping beside your car. You'd be like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, it's especially today, it's I can imagine people do all kinds of weird shit today that we're aware of. We're kind of it's man, they're doing it for the gram or they're doing it for fucking TikTok. And it's
these guys were doing it for just the mischief. That's it.
It's super strange because it's back then you don't have the things that we have to. You don't have social media. You don't have
They're doing it for
out.
the laughs. That's it.
People
just
are doing
for
it for
themselves.
clout or whatever. It's just it's not as widespread. It's not as ubiquitous as it is. Back then, it would just been totally fucking weird that you're just what in the.
You're doing
what
it
is
for the
happening?
genuine fucking laugh. Seeing the look on these people's fucking faces. Just amazing.
Absolutely
It's fucking
super strange.
And then you go back and you tell your two other buddies, yeah, fuck, dude, these people, this was funny.
These fuckers peeled out.
Well, they just got back from fucking World War II. They got a little bit of their warped sense of humor. You know what I mean? You got to do something for a laugh.
So
Either you do this or you join the Hells Angels. You got two options.
So they did this prank. They pulled this performance for several Thursdays in a row, where they would drive out there to the local roads, and they would have Sprague go out there and run around chasing cars. And then the town actually started to pick up. The first couple times they didn't really hear anything, but after a couple times they tuned in to people talking about this. There was starting to be a buzz about this unusual creature pursuing these vehicles. And what they found the most interesting, because years later, when they went back to revisit their experience, it became a piece of local history. What they found the most entertaining was that, like, how the reports wildly varied from person to person. So you had descriptions. You had descriptions that people were saying that, like, this creature was 2 feet tall. It was just a tiny little creature that was running alongside it. Then you had another person on the other side say, no. It was 10 feet tall. Right?
It runs faster than any human I've ever seen run.
Exactly. You have people talking about, this thing is super fast. It's running faster than anything could have possibly. There's no way it could be possibly human. So you had all these reports kind of flying around and how people just portrayed the Blue Man of Elkton, as it became called.
Yeah. But that is an interesting note, because we know this to be, like, all these accounts to be of this, like, hoax. These people rigged this, but you have all these wild accounts, which makes me think that, like, when you think about all the accounts of grays and stuff we have, and tall grays and short grays, are they different things, or are these people's firsthand accounts just exaggerated from memory, and it's somewhere like in the middle of the two? Like, maybe there isn't two different types of grays, of short and a tall and stuff.
They're just regular grays.
Just that,
just regular people.
Regular gray, just
average height.
Red grays. But it goes the same thing with Bigfoot, right? Like, when we talked about on the case file, what was it? When were we talking about Shaq's foot? Right, 22-inch foot. Right,
like one of the last couple.
That is insane.
Probably last one.
That is insane. And it's like, to me, I'm like, if you saw a Shaq-sized foot in the woods, how big Shaq? 7 feet tall?
It's like 7'3" or something.
There's no way.
Size 20.
Right? But here's the thing.
He's
like,
7'3".
People are saying, like, oh, Bigfoot, he's 10 feet tall. He's humongous, this thing. But I'm like, even if you saw something that was like 6'5", 6'7", 6'9", like, how much of that is getting exaggerated, like grossly exaggerated through these firsthand accounts? And by all means, everything we know about eyewitness testimony, eyewitness accounts can't be trusted, right? So when these people see these things, I think we have to start looking at these, like, alien encounters and stuff with a grain of salt, and going, like, these accounts we should look at and believe, but maybe it's closer to somewhere in the middle of all these accounts, like tall gray, short gray, whatever it is. Like, we can't, if someone says they were 2 feet tall, that might not be the case at all. Right? Like, that eyewitness account and recall is terrible, especially in a stressful situation. So it's like
when people see me, they're like, "Oh, that guy's 5'7". No, not 5'7" 3/4.
Yeah, right. But we got to. I think when you look at these accounts, it's a good idea, especially when you start to think about all the races we're told about, especially the races of aliens that are similar but vary slightly. I start to think that, like, those are probably the same ones, but are just described very poorly, is what I think.
So now, apparently, the trio bit off a little bit more than they could chew when they impulsively decided to pull their prank on a school bus full of middle schoolers, like we earlier mentioned. So, like, a school bus from the local Elkton Junior High kind of pulled out on the side of the road. Well, like, the group of pranksters had, like, heard that the bus was going to be somewhere, like it was going to be traveling through this stretch of road. So, like, they were sitting at, like, a local diner, and they heard that this bus was going to be passing through this certain area. So they all got in their car, and they drove up, past where the bus was, and they got to the point where they could set up their, set up for their little prank. And so, Sprague ran out, waving his arms all around and, windmilling them and being like, okay, it's generally causing a little bit of chaos. And then somebody ended up calling the police, which hadn't been done before. Like, if somebody ended up calling the police, and
I just imagine him being out there, like, dancing Homer when he was the mascot, like, ooh,
doing the robot, but apparently it freaked him out enough that somebody actually called the police. And so the police were kind of obliged to get on top of this. And then, I'll
tell you this, though, it's not that surprising, because if you wear this, if you made a costume, the exact specifications of this and went and terrorized, went and started dancing and making noise outside a middle school bus, they're calling the police today too.
Oh yeah,
this isn't news to me.
Right
that
away.
Police.
And so, like they might have gotten away with it. Like they may have, like if they just would have.
You know what?
All of them would have.
All got that one friend. You can't tell them anything. If they're going to ruin it for you.
They might have gotten away with it, but Sprague ended up spilling the beans to a friend of theirs, and so they knew once he had told them, and he told the other two, they knew it was just a matter of time, because once it gets out, it's going to get out. So they decided, well, fuck, like let's turn ourselves in. Let's just turn ourselves in, tell the cops it's a joke, and we'll be fine, or whatever. Maybe they'll let us off. Who knows? But that's better than having them come and catch us. So the group went in. They told they went to the local sheriff's office, and they told them they had to sit down. They said, "Okay, this is what we did." And so the town sheriff invited the district attorney to come in and sit down with the boys, and they had them lay out their story. And the officials, the sheriff and the district attorney, thought it was fucking hilarious. They thought it was the funniest thing. That what they were doing. And
let's be real here. It is funny.
It is so funny.
It is a good one.
Great.
And they thought it was so funny that they actually asked them, they suggested that the boys pull a prank outside their local radio station. They're like, go over there, go out into the lawn of the local radio station and pull this shit and see what happens. Like, it would be hilarious. It would be really funny. Unfortunately, or fortunately, for whatever, but the trio said, no, they declined that offer. They said, no, we're not going to do it. After some deliberation, they said, no, we don't want to do that.
It's not fucking funny when these nerds think it's funny. It's ruined. It's lost all.
When the authorities think it's funny, it's not funny.
It's not as good.
As soon as they're like, do it for me, they're like, nah. It's funny when no one knew.
So yeah, I like the Blue Man of Elkton is a good prank. I think, I was actually thinking about this the other, today of all days, when we were thinking about this, thinking about pranks. And it's like, I enjoy good natured pranks, that aren't really done. Pranks that are done.
It's not hurting someone.
Right. They're not hurting. They're not at the expense of someone else. They're not whatever. These
they're not done for financial gain. They just this is going to be really funny. Let's do it.
It's going to be really funny. If we're going to scare people with a couple, and it's a ridiculous costume. Right?
It is.
It's not like a Fear Factor costume, which I could. The Fear Factor, or not Fear Factor. What's the one? The Scare Tactics. Scare Tactics is the show. Oh, yeah. Which those ones are genuinely terrifying. I saw the one where they had the person dress up in a Hollywood quality Bigfoot outfit, and I was like, that's fucking scary. That's terrifying. Right. Yeah. But this is a ridiculous costume. It's a fucking sheet over a football helmet with Christmas, almost like Christmas lights wrapped around it. It's ridiculous.
If you see it during the day, you're like, come on.
Exactly. You see it during the day and you're like, holy shit. What the fuck? Come on, man. I can't believe that.
We put some blinking lights though.
Honestly,
there you go. At nighttime.
If we were going to do a hoax, how would we hoax now?
It's hard to do now. It's I don't know.
People just ignore you, man. They'll be like, this guy's on meth.
Yeah, it's just weird now. It's weird. It's hard to pull hoaxes now where you're just well,
the hoaxes now aren't
aren't done live. At this guy, be like, I don't have any cash, man. Sorry, buddy. Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck your YouTube.
The hoaxes now would be all done in post, a video surfaces. That's a hoax.
Yeah.
It's not. There's not actually someone doing it on the road. They plant the hoax on the internet with this crazy story with a blurry photo or whatever it is. But no one's actually not. I haven't heard of an actual costume hoax in quite some time.
You know, it'd be funny. It'd be a good one to do. I was thinking is if we a good one we could do on a pod week if we were going to do a hoax, because you'd want to get some people talking about what you saw. Is set up on a trail that people jog. You zell around your house would be perfect. Right at twilight when the lights are coming up, you kind of get into a dark spot. We would have to get it so when the person's running, you just walk across the road.
Just far enough away?
Just far enough away that someone goes What was that? Right? That's all you need is a what was that?
Well, what about that fucking coyote dickhead, right? Like he did the Bigfoot skull or whatever, right?
I found
That
it.
was
But that wasn't like a hoax. That was like
It's a hoax.
it was a hoax.
It was a hoax.
But it was like, yeah, but I still wouldn't, I would say
It was
that's still
also
something.
the most self-serving. Like there was no fun in that. He came out, he said he had something, and then he released a video, and then halfway through the video, he's like, and this next half is all the what if. I was like,
Yeah, it's all
suck
fiction.
my ass.
I wouldn't even say it was a hoax. I'd say it's more of an advertisement. Like it's not even like I would say it's more like
It
an
was a
ad
hoax to
kind of thing.
advertise something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still a hoax. It's still a fucking piece of shit.
Yeah. I mean,
Piece of
Yeah,
shit.
piece of shit. I won't
So
even utter his name. Suck it. He's dead
What's
to
his
me.
name though? What is it? Coyote, right?
Coyote, is it
Am I saying that
Coyote?
right?
Yeah,
Something.
Coyote
Peterson.
Peterson,
Coyote.
that's it. Yeah. I don't even believe he's been stung by any of those bugs or nothing. It's all fake.
It's a fake. Full
He
fake.
just lays on the ground. Stung me. Fake.
So yeah, so speaking of hoaxes, like this wasn't the first one that had been involving aliens. Like during the 1950s, you had some other pretty elaborate hoaxes as well. There's another one that I came across while I was looking at this one. So this one is this one is known as the Mars Monkey Man.
That's a great name.
A wicked name.
So actually, a couple of years before the Elkton Blue Man appeared, you had on July 8th of 1953, you had Edward
Yeah,
Waters.
the 50s. The 50s, that was the golden age of like you could really hoax people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you do whatever and people would be like, there was like you could truly.
Well, that was
fuck
like, you
with
know,
people.
there's just a different time where it's like, you know, back when there were like local news, like there were still people read like local newspapers and stuff. You used to have like local news and stuff. Yeah, you could pull all kinds of crazy stuff and like nobody would be able to be like, go in and check. And there's not, again, all the stuff we have today, like social media, CCTV everywhere, all that shit. But, So on July 8th of 1953, you had Edward Waters, 28, Thomas Wilson, 20, and Arnold Buddy Payne, 19, on driving down Highway 78 west of Atlanta. And they hit something. And the trio described described the scene of before them. That what they had was two human-like creatures, only a few feet tall, were running away from where they hit. They stopped their car after they felt like they had hit something. And these creatures that they saw, according to them, were running like men. So like on 2 feet, bipedal locomotion, across
swamp
the side
ape.
of the road.
Two peds.
Two Pete's. What's the clops? Two
Biped?
biclops?
Yeah, what kind of clops?
Like a double clops? Would we
A
say?
biclops? Double clops.
Biclops. That's another term for biclops. Yeah.
And these two creatures that were running away, they said they reached a red craft that seemed to be waiting for them in the middle of the highway. And then once these creatures entered into the craft, it rose up sharply into the air, turning a shade of blue and then vanishing into space.
Well, that's pretty cool.
It is cool.
But
Fucking hit and run.
Those two creatures weren't the only one. There was a third one. And that was the one that they hit. They found a body of a third creature. Incredibly thin and just human enough to seem very troubling. The description was just something that this is not human of what this is. Like what we're looking at right now.
small, skinny.
So the three spent the following day talking to reporters and investigators, and actually they I think they contacted a couple, one or two representatives of the Air Force about their experience of what had happened. And so the authorities, with local police and that, seized the corpse of this creature that the trio had hit with their car. And they described it as this thin, hairless body. And it was examined by Dr. W.A. Mickle of Emory University, who stated, quote, "The lack of hair I cannot account for. By our criteria, it fits
swimmer.
it fits into the simian picture.
Simian.
And the body characteristics are closer to those of the rhesus monkey than anything else.
It's a monkey? This is bad.
A reporter specifically asked him, like, could this creature have been from another planet? And I liked Mickle's reply. Like, his reply is, quote, I don't know. I've never been to outer space. If it did, they don't have anything new out there.
Pretty much the same
That's
shit.
pretty good. Isn't it?
Which I thought was pretty. That was
It's a good answer,
Like,
actually.
it's same, but different.
Right. So now it came out later that the three men, apparently during a card game, Waters had taken a $10 bet that he could get his picture put in the local papers. And so he started telling everyone in their town who would listen that he had actually seen flying saucers. And then he went out and bought, I thought this was really interesting.
This is fucked.
He purchased a 4-pound monkey for $50 at an Atlanta pet store, which I was like, that's nuts. You only had to pay $50 to buy like an actual monkey.
That seems unbelievably cheap.
50s though? What's that now?
Also, the fact that you had rhesus monkeys at an Atlanta pet store in 1953, that seems incredibly strange to me. Like, I have
no rules
idea
back
how that
then.
works.
It's
don't.
Shit was getting shipped from everywhere.
He didn't have the $60 for the tiger.
Yeah. And I also found out recently that we talk about the escaped apes in the Florida swamps, about the lab apes or whatever.
Yeah, escape apes.
Apparently, there's a place in Florida where they actually imported in. I don't know if it was rhesus monkeys, but they brought in monkeys to a certain place in Florida, and they have like a population of like 300 to 400 monkeys there now.
Oh, cool.
And they brought them in like the 50s or 60s. Like, they brought them in as a tourist attraction to bring in tourists. And they just have monkeys there now that live there on this one part of Florida. Waters purchased this 4-pound monkey, and he gave the cashier $4 to keep his mouth shut about the transaction.
$4 bribe.
$4. Here's $4. Here's
Yeah. Keep
Mr.
the change.
The Washington quadruplets will tell you, keep your mouth shut. It's weird. I'll spare everybody the gruesome details about how he prepared the body.
How he murdered
the
a
monkey.
Murder, man. That's all.
There was a monkey murder.
I can't believe. How
All
did
that
he
for
not
a
get
bet.
strung? Yeah, how did he? He's like, I'm just going to perform some animal cruelty here to get into the paper.
Yeah, so they prepared the monkey corpse to put out there and perpetrate this hoax. So Waters only ended up being, like, after everybody found out exactly what had happened, they admitted to what they were doing.
I just want to remind everyone, so far he spent $54 to try to win a $10 bet.
Yes.
That's something you would do.
Yeah. Never give up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
See it till the end, no matter what.
Yeah.
And $50 in the 50s. I mean, what's that now? Got big inflation. $500.
Oh, that's true.
Hold on, I'll find out. $50. What is it?
I bet you it's like $500.
$50 in 1958 or 53. 58 is fine.
53 worth.
Magic fingers is at it. What do we got?
It'd be at least
$558.
Boom.
Wow.
That's quite
$558 to win a $10 bet.
Yeah.
He's committed to the
That's
bet.
something you
He's
do.
fucking
And
committed.
$10 is worth, just so you know, would be worth.
Wait, $100 then.
Whoops.
Makes sense.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Like $100.
I bet you it's $100. Even the same.
111.
There you go.
Right. Yeah. It's $500.
He's $400 in the hole trying to polish off this bet
Yeah.
just for bragging rights.
Absolutely.
I mean, so he accomplished.
But this guy fucking strangled a monkey to win this bet. Let's not even talk about the monkey.
They hit it with
He probably hammer tossed it against a wall.
They killed
or
it with a
something.
bottle.
A bottle? Did that come out?
Oh, it's horrifying.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck this guy.
Fuck this guy.
You
and
know,
his hoax.
Yeah.
At least he won the $10. At least it was worth it.
You know, so but then so Waters was fined $40 after a 5-minute court hearing about violating Georgia health and sanitation laws, which prohibited a carcass from being dumped on the highway.
They didn't investigate if it was a murdered carcass or not.
So altogether, the whole thing cost Waters like $100, minus the $10 he won from the bet. So $100 that time, I guess. Like $100, 1953 money.
So he lost like $900 in today's money.
Good.
On this.
Fuck that guy.
But it cost him a lot more than money. I guess you could say
His soul.
As fate would have it, letters poured in from local papers and stuff when they were reported on this, and they had their own kind of takes on what Waters had done. And so
Waters, monkey murderer.
Essentially, one reader demanded that Waters be prosecuted to the full extent of the law for animal cruelty, which I would probably agree with. In these times, I'd be like, like he's like the monkey.
Made the paper twice, boys.
But he was hounded to such an extent that Waters actually he felt like he had to move. Like he was a victim, a target, not victim. Like he's a target of such mockery that he had to move. I guess he had a barbershop.
The guy who murdered an animal had to move towns because he murdered an animal.
He had to move to
for
Birmingham,
$10.
Alabama. Yeah.
Birmingham? Oh no. Poor guy.
Yeah.
Birmingham, Alabama?
Yeah.
Where was he from before?
He's from Atlanta.
Atlanta.
Oh, so he didn't move that far. He didn't have to
So he moved where this is a little more commonplace.
Yeah, pretty much like 2 months after the whole thing came to light, like Waters had to fucking book it to Birmingham. He took off to Birmingham, Alabama, and he said he had to wait like a few years, probably 2 or 3 years before he could even come back and show his face in Atlanta. But people still remembered him and were still fucking just like ripping on him until then.
Hey, that's the guy.
That's the Mars Monkey Man. Yeah,
it's the Monkey Man.
So
if not all hoaxes are good hoaxes.
Yeah, not all hoaxes are good hoaxes.
No.
Like Blue Man Elkton, cool.
Good
That's
hoax.
fine.
Yeah.
Funny.
No one was hurt. There was no harm, no foul. Monkey Man?
Monkey Man.
Big harm.
He's a murderer.
Fuck that guy.
He's a murderer.
Like, not cool, dude. I'd be fine with a Blue Man Elkton joke, just the fact. Again, like the costume is so ridiculous that you're just like, if you can look it up, the Elkton Blue Man, it's kind of it's a piece of local history now, and they have I think they have like a museum kind of dedicated to it. They couldn't find all the pieces of the original costume, like over the years they kind of got lost and whatever. They couldn't even find some of the original pieces, but it's kind of it just local. It has entered into local lore now as the Elkton Blue Man. It's just kind of funny. Digging into these things are always pretty kind of fun. That when people think about it, it's like, like the next town over had some elaborate hoax that made it into the newspapers about dudes chasing cars in a glowing blue suit. It's like
that's a fun hoax.
I just wish
we should recreate that hoax.
Yeah.
Next pod week, we can get another in-person pod week. Let's do it.
Yeah, I wish we'd have more of these sometimes, because it's like, I wish there were more of these hoaxes, and then I'm also like, but no. Like, again, if you did this today,
We'll do the hoax like this, and then we'll also do crop circles.
I was gonna say, I thought you were gonna say, and we'll also do. I was like, I'm not doing no monkey murder.
And we'll also kill something.
We're also gonna murder a couple monkeys.
Yeah.
It's a weird case where it's just like, I don't know. The hoaxes show. I think the Elkton Blue Man does show a little bit, like Braden mentioned before, about how a lot of these things can be blown out of proportion. Like human memory at the best of times is still kind of imperfect. It's not. Yeah. It's not the greatest.
It's got to record right away.
Like
right
again,
away.
That's why you need independent corroboration between multiple sources to really put together an accurate picture of events. In any case, is if you want to really put together an accurate picture of what happened, and you get all these you get all these great reports about, especially people who've like never seen anything. You're not expecting to see this. And you've got either is he 2 feet tall? Is he 10 feet tall?
Yeah, that's the biggest takeaway. The biggest takeaway for me from these hoaxes is that discrepancy of like, it's a known hoax. So we have known variables, and then it's wildly reported differently, which it makes me think that like, even if people have, true accounts, we have to take what's witnessed and said with a grain of salt, and knowing that there could be variables in the height, the weight, the size, the head of the shape, their drawings. Like maybe these things aren't that much different than you and I. The grays in size, maybe a little slimmer, right? Eyes maybe just a little bigger. But when we start to get these exaggerations, maybe it gets ridiculous, right? Like that's the takeaway from these hoaxes. I think I don't think these hoaxes necessarily mean everything's a hoax. I don't think so at all. I don't think that's the case. I think enough people see the same things that I'm a firm believer that there's something else out there. I just don't know for certainty if I believe that there are tall grays and short grays. Maybe there's just grays.
You got to take into account human error.
Yeah.
Right.
And especially in times of terror. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Everything's always going to be exaggerated.
Adrenaline's jacked up.
We all are guilty of it.
We all do it.
Yeah. So hoaxes exist. Some good, some terrible.
Yeah.
Some didn't.
One was funny, one was awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're going to pull a hoax, don't involve rhesus monkeys.
Stay away from murder.
Don't kill anything.
No murdering.
Murder.
No murder.
Don't disrupt the public good. Just have fun.
This guy later in life, he's like, I bet I can make the paper again. Went on to bury 6 bodies around
in Winnipeg,
Atlanta, right? Hilarious.
Yeah, again, like I focus back on the costume of the Elton Blue Man and how ridiculous it is. Like if you look it up, right. it's so
kind of looks like the Great Gazoo. It's great.
Yeah. It's awesome. Really silly, like that thing. And I imagine like, dude, if you're gonna pull a hoax, like yes, a good hoax is gonna be like, yeah, your costume has to be ridiculous. Like if you're gonna pull a Lizard Man hoax, it's got to be the Sleestak costume from Land of the Lost. Like it's got to be the fucking big guy. Fucking weird. Like it's got to be really, really unusual that people like, I can't believe like I was scared of this or I freaked out and this is weird. Like, I always find those the most interesting where it's like, yeah, that is a weird little costume that you put together. And I can't believe I was totally terrified of that. Even though it was the middle of the night and I'd be like, yeah, I'd probably be scared anyways. But
there you have it. If you're going to hoax, make it funny.
Make it funny.
That's not killy.
Not killy.
Not killy.
Stay away. All right. That was fun. Good old ATT Confidential. Felt good to get back on the show. It's been a while.
Mm-hmm. And that's it for us here at ATT Confidential. And as we always say at the end of these, keep it confidential.